You may have all wondered why music is so important to all of us. And it's probably because music has an evolutionary past in our past that predates even language. Good day, my name is Professor Dr. Bankole Johnson, and welcome to another episode of Time Travel in Medicine. Today we're going to do something really exciting. We're going to talk about the neuroscience of music and why it's important for our emotions. So this is part of the series that deals with brain wellness and health, and so let's get started. It is said that before we developed language and even music, we had a proto-language, and this came from gestures and it came from different tones that were converted later on into music, and I think at the beginning more rhythmic music from our ancestors. But how did this all begin? We know, for example, that our auditory cortex, or the part in our brain that analyzes, perceives music and musical tones, is larger in Homo sapiens, which is humans, than in our great ape cousins or any non-human primates. And this area lies in an area called the superior gyrus, or the temporal lobe, and it's usually on the right side. It's right along this section. This section is larger in the Homo sapiens than in great apes and other non-human primates. It sits right next to what's called our primary sensory cortex, which is over here for the perception of other stimuli. And the other parts, it's close to our motor cortex. So basically, our emotions are linked to our perception of them, our mood, and also our motion, and that is probably why we call it emotion. Now, why is this important? I'll tell you something that is really fascinating. When my wife was pregnant, we used to spend a lot of time talking to our unborn child, and we used a little microphone, we set it up, and we put it on her belly, and we talked to our son. We never thought that this would result in anything really dramatic. We actually also played our son music to calm our son down. We knew he was a boy by that time. But I remember very, very vividly when my son was born and he was handed over to me, and I was full of joy, but he was crying, and I started talking to him. He stopped crying and he attended to my voice. How remarkable an experience is that? Perhaps it was just my imagination in my excitement, but I like to believe that there is something important about the encoding of voice memories and neuronal connections. In fact, this research has been done in terms of understanding that if we encode neuronal memories when it is in the presence of certain types of music, that those are less easily destroyed by damage. So, for example, individuals who have a stroke on the right side or the right hemisphere often have difficulty with attending and comprehensive and enjoying music. And we also know that individuals who have Alzheimer's, one of the most important memories that are conserved are those that have been embedded or encoded with music or encoded with voice. Well, what is the best musical instrument we have? Now, we know that our middle ear is derived from, in ancestral times, from the jawbones of reptiles. And so our ability to understand and perceive the human voice is extremely acute. This is really important because, as I've explained before, the part of our brain that is associated with understanding this phenomena is larger in Homo sapiens than in great apes or our other cousins. All right? So why is this even more important? This means that if we encode these memories in our brains in terms of our ability to code voice and ability to associate those with other phenomena, we remember them even better. So maybe one of the things that we can talk about in terms of music is maybe music and voice can be used as some kind of therapy. Now, the opposite has been found. There's been a lot of studies of Western classical composers, and as you know, about 30 to 40% of the top Western composers in classical music often suffered from some kind of affective disorder, depression, bipolar disorder, and this is very common. 30 to 40% is very, very common indeed. Interestingly, none of them were ever diagnosed as having schizophrenia, which is a disorder associated with language and language developmental delay. So this is very important, telling us that music and language may be encoded differently in the brain. So we've talked about why music, or people who have very high talents in music, can have harmful other emotional or neurological problems. But we now need to talk about individuals who use music as a form of emotional therapy. We know, for example, in individuals who have suffered a stroke, that music therapy is very important. It's important in children for the treatment of autism. It's also important for the treatment of other disorders, such as in Parkinson's disease, where entrained music or rhythmic music seems to be very important for the preservation of neuronal function. So in terms of our understanding, music is very important as a therapeutic tool, but also explains in our development how it's related to all of us as we have become more human over the last millions and millions of years. Why is this important for brain health? It's important for brain health because it means that the emotions that you set in terms of music, perhaps you're in your car going to work, perhaps you're going somewhere, or you're just sitting listening to music, are very important in determining your emotional cadence. That means playing the right music and playing music that amplifies your emotional tone is very important for reinforcing those memories. Let me put it simply. Happy music tends to make most people happy. Happy music tends to be played at a faster beat than sound music. Happy music tends to be with more major chords than depressive music. And therefore, it is possible to attune yourself to using music as a form of self-therapy and self-reflection. Therefore, when you get into that car in the morning and you want to be energized to go into work, choose the right music. Get to work happy, or if you're going to visit your relatives or you're going to visit a loved one, it's a happy experience, play yourself some happy music. Finally, don't forget that the best form of music encoded in our brains is our voice. Individuals who have high emotional intelligence are very good at using their voices, the tone and the pitch, as well as the rhythm, to be able to convey important, complex, or difficult emotional states. Attune your voice to be able to use it as a tool or an instrument for being able to change the brain and help other people to soothe, to relax, and have a great day. See you on the next episode of Time Travel in Medicine.
If you like this program, please don't forget to subscribe by clicking on the button below. It really does help for us to be able to bring you this great content. See you soon. Bye-bye.